if you tell people that you're quitting video games, naturally they're going to assume you had some kind of addiction, you had some kind of overwhelming problem where you were playing video games for 5 hours a day and now you got to get it down to 0. They're not going to assume that you were playing video games for 5 minutes a day and you're getting it down to 0. People are going to assume you are a former alcoholic when you tell them that you're 100% sober, you don't drink alcohol at all. You know, in my case, I also smoke 0 marijuana. I don't use any drugs of any kind. I don't make any excuses like that. I'm not a former alcoholic. I never had a problem with alcohol. I never had a problem with marijuana or any other drug. I choose to be sober for positive reasons because of what I want to do in my life positively, not because I'm afraid of it, not because it would be out of control for me in any way. So likewise, what do I have to say now at this juncture in my life about quitting video games? Thing one, playing for 5 minutes a day, playing sometimes for 15 minutes a day, that was only enjoyable in as much as I had my girlfriend sitting next to me. Whether we were playing 2-player together or whether we were having a conversation while the video game was on screen. Being alone now, living in this apartment alone now, it is intensely meaningless and noxious and even horrible to sit and play the same video game. The difference is not in the video game. The difference is me and the situation I'm in. I got involved in this hobby in the first place because of my fascination with the interface, with classic arcade joysticks. I still love the joysticks, like just the tactility of the joystick and the button. I've said many times to this for years, I wish I could do work on my computer and on my phone using a joystick instead of this kind of interface clicking on the screen with my fingers. If I get back into studying a language, whether it's modern Chinese or ancient Latin or ancient Greek, I wish I could do the memorization exercises using an arcade joystick. That still is fascinating and satisfying to me. But the kind of social context, the loving, cooperative, cuddly context of sitting there with my girlfriend, or hypothetically sitting there with my daughter or my son, being together, that's what makes playing a game for even 5 minutes or 15 minutes enjoyable. And the video game as such, if I am alone, it's not out of any sense of guilt that there's something better I should be doing. It's not like, oh, I ought to spend these 5 minutes reading a book instead. It's not a sense of obligation. It's that really sincerely, I would not enjoy, like playing Pac-Man Championship Edition. I would not enjoy doing that if I'm sitting here alone. Even when you're talking about a 1-player game, not necessarily a 2-player game, where it's just that experience of sitting and chatting and cuddling together, you know, outside of the video game. It's the socialization face to face with the other person who's sitting there next to you in front of the TV. That is the thing that made, for me, video games fun. So yeah, I've taken my whole collection and put it in cardboard boxes. I'm not planning to sell this stuff off now. I'm just not. But maybe I should learn how to use eBay and get rid of some of the collection I amassed during coronavirus. But look, guys, coronavirus is over. And I have always been a very passionate, very ambitious person, even when I'm not sure what to do with my passion and my ambitions. And it's not going to be hard for me at all. It isn't going to be any suffering at all for me to see video games go from 5 minutes a day down to 0. Those of you guys who are struggling with 5 hours a day to get it down to 5 minutes, I'll just say this. You can't imagine how much better everything else in your life is going to become once you overcome the video game addiction or the video game habit, the video game hobby. In the same way that an alcoholic or a drug addict doesn't realize the way in which all their other problems in life are linked to that drug use, that alcohol use. They don't realize their sex life is linked to it. They don't realize their emotional life is linked to it, like the arguments they're having with their girlfriend, not just the quality of the sex they're having. In that same way, if you are using video games for 5 hours a day, when you get it down to 5 minutes a day, you're going to see these incredible ways in which everything else in your life gets better. The life of the mind, the life of the body, intellectually, emotionally, sexually, physically, everything gets better. And for me, in going from 5 minutes down to 0 minutes a day, honestly, I can't expect much of anything to change at all.